Very good morning and welcome to BizTalks. I hope you're keeping well wherever you are. Trying to keep warm here with a cup of chocolate. So maybe you better grab yours as we get to learn about matters digital, especially digital and business. And in the house we have experts who I'll be introducing, or even ask them to introduce themselves that time. And they'll be helping us to understand how do we scale ourselves or do better business, especially in digital. There's a lot of advice outside there. People come in left, right, and center telling us this is what you need to do. These are the wrong things. Then you end up investing, losing money because you just followed advice that was not verified. At least here we have verified persons who are, established and know the ways in and out. So welcome to the show. Please, at this moment as I take my seat, tell a friend to tell a friend that we have started right now. And feel free, because this is your conversation, so a lot of questions from your end as well are welcome. Karibu sana. So give me that 5 seconds of settling now. And as I invite my guests, Karibu sana, my people. Yes, everybody can see you now.
Thank you very much.
No, it's good to have you here. Such an interesting morning. It's quite hot, eh? I don't know if it's me, but I'm not sleeping my usual way. I'm just saying. We need
climate change is
I don't know. We had great prayers for rain. We haven't seen it yet. Climate change. Yeah. Need to be more careful with that.
Prayer works.
Yes.
But prayer must be accompanied by action.
By action.
Yeah, faith and action go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By action, do you mean we need to carry umbrellas now, or so that at least?
Action, we need to plant more trees.
Exactly.
We need to protect our water towers.
Okay.
We need to protect riparian areas.
Yeah.
We need to study our soils and see what's the best fertilizer to use.
Yes.
And the like. And of course, carry an umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recycling as well.
Recycling.
And recycling is a very big issue, actually. Yeah.
Wow. Just to welcome a few guys. Brian, Karibu sana. Sikolia, Kachi as well. Karibuni sana. And the other guys as well online. So tell a friend that we're about to start this conversation. So we can at least get to learn and grow together. Now, when we talk about matters doing business, especially on the digital spaces, people ask a lot of questions. And but before we get into that conversation, it's good for people to know. Maybe someone is just meeting you for the first time. Let's not just make assumptions. It would be nice to just do a proper intro. And how I like asking is when people look at you and ask you who you are, how do you define yourself? I'm going to start with you. I didn't even know call your name because you're supposed to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Steve Biko Wafula.
Sure.
I'm a lawyer, entrepreneur, reluctant politician, social media enthusiast. And I'm all over the place: media, manufacturing, research, and above all, a Kenyan.
I actually didn't know you were a lawyer, but welcome to the show. There you have.
My name is Julian Kamau. I'm a journalist, a media trainer, and a digital strategist.
Wow. Are you based somewhere?
Currently based at the Nation Media Group as a project and digital lead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I don't know what are your quick thoughts right now, even before we get to the structured conversation about this whole aspect of there's a great shift that we are seeing, and I think the latest statistics have already said it, that even advertising revenues and all that are moving big time to the digital side. And lots of businesses coming up, and the environment looking different, laws as well following up, and all those kind of things. I just want to get your first instinct reaction before I get to my question on what you feel, where we are headed towards, especially business-wise. Let me start with you.
Okay, so business-wise, I mean, like you said, revenues are moving to digital, audiences are moving to digital, content is being consumed on digital, and digital is here to stay. So my first thought is we better get with it because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Then anyone who does not go with the times, or rather go with the changing times and follow the audiences where they are, is going to be left out.
Yeah.
Yes. So businesses, I don't think there's any business that will survive in the future. They don't have a digital presence.
Wow.
Be it services, be it products, be it whatever industry you're in, digital will be a must for any business to thrive.
That's a good start. You had it, business people. There's no place to run out of this. Steve, what's your immediate thoughts on this?
I'd like to concur with her.
Yeah.
The audience has moved on to digital platforms. Unfortunately, corporates, brands, and the laws are still trying to catch up.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest disconnect that we're seeing. And that's why you're seeing countries, especially in East Africa, are actually struggling in terms of continuation. Many companies in media are actually shutting down because they've not been able to transition with where the audience is.
Yeah.
And the audience is actually fully 100% on social media platforms, on digital, on the internet. I don't remember the last time I had anyone saying they bought a newspaper. If you look at the trends in South Africa or Nigeria, a good example is the concluded Nigerian elections. Everything was on digital.
Yeah.
Even the elected president-elect Tinubu had his first comment was on social media and digital, and why he doesn't trust it.
Yeah.
So we have a very serious disconnect where the leaders, the owners of capital, are still confused on what to do. Do they stick with traditional media, or do they move? And then you're having an audience that has multiple options, and then you've got a new workforce that are pushing capital owners to move advertisements and engagements onto digital platforms. Globally, digital business is a $100 billion USD industry, and in Africa it's around 12 billion. In Kenya you're looking at 1 B USD.
Yeah.
But we're just tapping the surface. And as she puts it, there's a lot that needs to move. Legislation is behind. Education curriculum is behind. Most of us have been groping in the darkness trying to find out what fits where. So in terms of education, labor, there's a disconnect. Legislation, for example, laws in Kenya say that if you want to advertise something, you have to do it on the traditional media. So we need legislation to actually factor in the relevance and the importance of digital. And that's what the problem is. So brands need to move, legislation needs to move, education curriculum needs to move.
Wow.
Yes.
That's quite a mouthful, my goodness. And in fact, there will be a lot of questions to ask on that. And just to alert our viewers who've just joined us in, we are talking matters digital for business. And we have amazing panelists that have joined us. And it's going to be an amazing way of talking. So if you could, at this particular moment, click on that share button, let people know that we are having this conversation so that at least we can flow and, get to learn from each other. Now, I don't know, what are your questions? What has been your experience, especially when it comes to matters doing business and digital? And a lot of people have gone in there unknowingly, some people making big mistakes, but hey, I think I just wanted to alert you that you might notice that now our panel is a panel of 3, and Janet is in the house. Janet, it's good to see you. Not to worry, we are digital, and I know you're already on the digital platform and flying. So I'll allow you to breathe, and hopefully a cup of tea might fly your way. But yeah, there you go. So if you have any questions, feel free to run in. We're just diving into it. And Julian, I want to start with you again with a question on, before digital was seen as the cheaper option, I don't know now how it's happening very known with the laws that are coming in, taxes that have been introduced. And it feels like guys are just following up on where anybody is doing business, we're catching up on it. I know Steve will definitely comment on the fact that it's not just digital now. We're seeing some retailers being asked very many questions, but it's becoming a bit more costly on the go. And so is this still a space for entrepreneurs, or are they going to be stifled up because government is going to come after them? What's your immediate thoughts?
On your question whether it was cheaper then, right now, of course, we are having taxes imposed on anyone who's on the platforms. And you're seeing the government, of course, looking for any opportunity to get money from wherever. And they've definitely discovered, recently discovered, which is unfortunate, that the digital spaces have opportunities. People are actually earning a lot of money on the platform, on the digital platforms, because they have access to audiences. And yes, of course, the cost of advertising online is going to go up. I think recently we saw Facebook is now, initially you do a campaign on social media, paid campaigns on Facebook, on Instagram, and you'd not be taxed. Right now there's a whole amount that's being taxed when you do your campaigns online.
Wow.
So you can be sure that that cost is going to be passed on
Yeah.
to entrepreneurs and people who are trying to advertise their businesses on the social media platforms. And also when it comes to Google, there are conversations that will have to be had in terms of the big company, the big tech company, big
Yeah.
tech, and how they are leveraging on audiences using other people's content or other people's platforms and what they contribute to the economy.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation that is definitely has started, but we will see the cost of advertising on digital definitely go up.
Very good.
And that doesn't mean that now that we cannot go that direction. I mean, we've been operating with the taxes still there, but I still feel we will figure as we go.
Yeah.
But it's not an option of should we get out of digital, we will just have to adapt to being on the platform, because it's the only way we can do it. Probably what we would need is better legislation, and I think Steve has mentioned that the legislation is still very behind, and they're doing a lot of grappling in the dark. They don't even know how digital works. They don't even know how they're going to charge that. So yeah, cost is going to go up.
Wow. Steve, I know you have some thoughts on that, and I would like to understand as well from your end is because we see as well on top of that people, because it's as easy on your phone, you know, you have posted something, I'm selling this, and there's already an option, do you want to boost, you know, and it's a click and then boom, and then some money just disappears and you're hoping that some miracles are going to happen. So people are jumping in without knowing, and some are frustrated, they're saying this thing doesn't work. I don't know, all those thoughts now thrown to you, Steve. What's your comment on that?
I think first, I mean, every generation has its own way of doing business.
Yeah.
It's our time to use digital. I think growing up, it was TV, traditional TV, newspaper, radio.
Yeah.
Radio was king for a very long time.
Yeah.
But for now, it's digital. The phone has actually been able to amalgamate over 60 items into one gadget. So whether you like it or not, digital is the way to go.
Absolutely.
The problem comes in the fact that laws are behind, because now I go out, I look for work, and then carrier comes and takes the money, and they don't know how I've been able to get the work. So the issue is not about paying taxes. The issue is what value am I getting when I pay my taxes now? Because as she's put it, Facebook was very cheap. 500 shillings, you'll be able to boost an article for a couple of days. Same on Twitter, same on IG. But now, with the push for more taxation, digital seems to be where everyone is. So the government is coming for that, which is fine. I mean, it's important for us to pay taxes, but I don't think government has a God-given right to tax my sweat 100%. So the issue becomes, as I'm paying these taxes, what am I getting in return? What's the value for me to get in return? Is internet cheaper? Are laws in terms of, because I feel like the government has gone ahead and regulated an industry or an ecosystem that hasn't grown yet. We've not gotten support from the government to grow. The current advertising laws say that if any government agency or parastatal wants to advertise, they have to do it on radio, newspaper, and TV. There's no mention for digital. So we need to amend that to include digital. Then it will make more sense when we are paying taxes. Secondly, you want to tax my Facebook engagement, my digital engagement. Yet you're not creating an ecosystem or an environment for local businesses to thrive. Because all this money you're paying to Facebook is actually being exported to another country. So ultimately, the country is not benefiting. If you're looking at how much brands spent last year, almost 3 billion in terms of digital advertisement, and almost 70% of that went outside the country. So there's a conversation we need to have on how much more can we retain in the country to be able to grow local businesses. And thirdly, the problem of regulators not being able to understand what's really happening, and especially because there's no curriculum to tell us how digital works. There's no curriculum to look at how do we train our children to engage on social media. So we have a problem with educators, a problem with researchers, a problem with regulators. And now the government just coming and saying, now you're going to do a post on Facebook, so we're going to tax 20% of that. And it becomes a complicated area. So it's stifling the growth of the aspect, because now businesses are going to say, yes, I need Facebook and Twitter and other platforms, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not benefiting anything from the government. And the biggest problem is Parliament. they're redundant, they're clueless on what they need to legislate on, and no one really wants to pick up the conversation. A good example is digital currency.
Okay.
Central Bank came up with a public participation paper on what we needed to do so that they can be able to understand the ecosystem of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and up to date, we will not be able to get feedback.
Okay.
Peer-to-peer businesses having a very big struggle in terms of transactions across border, and it's all because of ignorance, lack of the needed political will. You know, growth doesn't happen in a comfort zone.
Yes.
But we do not have the legislation or the people in parliament to actually push for this.
Okay, Steve, and I know you have a mouthful in terms of this because you're also very big on the digital space. I think for the people who may not know, Soko Analyst, the guys, this is the man behind it. So it's important that people may get to understand. So, Janet, let me come to you. And I know we started this conversation by asking what's your immediate thought when you think digital and business. So I'd like to hear that from you. But on top of that, entrepreneurs are struggling, as we are talking about, when it comes to marketing. Some of them don't even know how to maneuver this. And Steve brings in the aspect of some of the struggles are not just on the digital space, it's the support mechanism around it, especially by government legislation and all that. And we have covered that in quite detail. I don't know from your top of mind, what
channel. For us marketers, we look at it as not just a channel, but also a space where people are going to have social conversations. And I think that is something we have to constantly remind ourselves. Digital, especially social media platforms, are social for a reason. They were not called business platforms for a reason. They were called social media platforms. High chances are every single day I log in on social media, I want to check out on something, what is happening around my industry, what did Soko Analyst post for today, what are you talking about on your pages, where have you gone, and business conversations, I'll jump on them maybe through the scrolling or maybe depending on who I'm following on social media.
You're right.
And that means as much as businesses are looking at marketing on the digital platforms, they have to sit down and look at an angle of how to socialize with people. And I think that is something we forget a lot. We think about our products, we think about our services, we forget who is this person who is going to be part of this conversation. And that is why most of the time we usually scroll and you see only likes and retweets, no one is commenting, no one is asking questions. And that's why I love actually the way Soko Analyst approaches the conversations. And there's another guy, I think on Twitter, who's called Money Academy. The way he brings out the conversation, be like, wow, so that happened. But from a business perspective, they only see a poster. They will see, you know, I need to make this, have our logos, have our colors and all that. But when it comes to people, people don't want that. So I think in terms of rethinking how we do marketing from the business point of view, we need to look for a way we can share authentic conversations. And that means conversations that don't have to splatter everywhere. This is our logo, these are our brand colors, and this is what we represent. Sometimes you just have to step away from the elements and step into the personalities of people. And also the conversations, now the authenticity itself. You want to make people feel so calm to talk to you, to share some of their problems with you. Because I believe negatives and negative comments and negative sentiments is what actually builds our businesses, not just positive every time. And I think that is why it's so different when you see someone telling you all the time, you look beautiful, you are handsome, you're like, I don't think you're telling the truth. That's the same thing I look actually at things when it comes to businesses. You don't have to look at the positive all the time. Sometimes find a way to have a normal conversation so that you can get more details. Because at the end of the day, we need details from our customers. We need details from our fans. And I think that's another thing most of us usually forget, especially the ones who help businesses build their services and products on the social media. We look at a strategy on how we're going to push the products and services. We forget what is there a strategy that can help us build a fan base. High chances are some people might never be consumers to our products, but they will talk about them. They will be our mouthpieces. They will be our preachers. They will talk about them somewhere if they are having conversations. High chances most of the conversations that we're trickling down from social media to our offline conversations are things that we have engaged with and vice versa. And that means businesses need to find a way. How can you create a circular kind of conversation? Online, offline, back. Online, offline, and also not forgetting the traditional way of marketing.
Wow. My goodness, this is getting hot here. I think I'm also getting tips myself, so I hope you are, wherever you are. Now, guys, there's a law that is about to come, and I think it will fly by the MSK. And the MSK, that's the Marketing Society of Kenya, is saying that anybody who is regarded or called or has the title marketer needs to be certified by them. And definitely, I know we're talking about laws. Definitely, even on social media, like when I look at you guys, the title marketing definitely is on top of your head completely. And definitely means there's some regulations about probably to be passed in Parliament. I don't know what's your immediate reaction to that. Is it going to work? And Julian, I want to start with you on that. What's your immediate thought on it?
Wow. Okay. So that every marketer needs to get certification from Marketing Society of Kenya.
Yes.
I don't think that's necessary from where I sit. One, because I think we've seen, I know training is important, and I also understand that a lot of people are doing a lot of self-work, even on the digital platforms, to be able to market. And to market their products, to market their services. And I believe we don't need to restrict it to one body that is certifying all marketers on the platform, because to be honest, I've noticed a lot of marketers who are doing a really tremendous job without having gone through some of these institutions. So why are we doing it in the first place? I just need to understand if it gives value to the marketers and we understand that this is gonna give them more opportunities, they can be able to leverage, and not just local. Remember, digital is global. So we cannot limit training to local institutions just for the sake of it.
Absolutely.
So once they get the certification from Marketing Society of Kenya, what exactly do they get as an added advantage? If I go and do CRM, for example, which is an international body, UK, whatever, I'm more marketable. I'm able to access global opportunities. Will that certification by Marketing Society of Kenya do the same for me as a marketer? So we also need to come from an angle of, do we just want people to do things just because? Or is there value behind some of these decisions? For me, I don't really care who certifies marketers. I just need to know what value does it add to the marketer, because it's going to take their time, it's going to get their money, it's going to take what value, tangible value, does it add to the marketer. Training is important, but let's do it with a purpose behind it.
Wow. I would have rushed to Steve, but I know he has a mouthful on that. Let me start with you, Janet. I don't know, what are your immediate thoughts on that? What's your take on this?
Honestly, I would like to rant if I meet the MSK.
It's a safe space.
Because I feel like we are certifying a lot of people. We are certifying a lot of categories in the industry that don't actually need that. As Julian said, there's no reason for you to certify me yet I'm not getting money. What if I get certified and then I don't know how to actually get the business? How is it going to help me? At the end of the day, what I feel we might need from them is the training first, and secondly, maybe a way like we should conduct ourselves as marketers on the digital platforms. I think that is what we miss in the society. How can we get the right ways we can go through our marketing, how we can hold ourselves accountable on some of the things, not really being certified. Because if you look at the marketing industry in Kenya for the past 5 years, and I feel like that's the time people have really grown on the digital space, so many people have realized the importance of actually being a professional person, with or without a certification. And that is something we have to now look at. How can we make people think of marketing in the digital space as a long-term profession, other than just something they do for 2 years, just because they want money, now they go wrong. They go cloud chasing and everything. And then after 2 years, now the other people in the industry look at us like, you are jokers. You marketers are jokers. You need to be certified. You need to be regulated and all that. And I think that is what we need. We need a way we can build role models. We need a way we can build people who can be guiders to the others who are growing up, so that they can look at marketing as a profession in the digital space. As a profession you can do, not just a part-time, because most of the people are actually looking at digital as a space where they can get extra money. But there are some of us who actually have put our sweat and everything
Everything
every
into
single
it.
day. So we don't have to joke about that. So what we need is a way to bring up these already role models, and
Okay.
people want to be part of it, so they can guide the rest.
All right.
So a code of conduct will really do
Okay.
some certification.
Steve, my question to you is this. Do we have enough laws? Do we still need this? And what are your immediate thoughts?
I think first we need to just let the space to grow.
Let
I
the
mean,
space
let the space grow, like what happened to the mobile money ecosystem.
Yeah.
Let it grow, because there is marketing and there is communication. I'm a lawyer by profession.
Yes.
So do I have to go to school to learn communication, then come back, go to school and marketing for me to be able to do what I'm doing online? And social media has brought marketing and communication together. And that's why earlier I said there's a disconnect in labor and education. Education hasn't caught up with what's happening.
Yeah.
So for bodies like Marketing Society of Kenya to actually propose such a law, then they need to also be working in tandem with universities to see how they can be able to develop new curriculum so that we understand. And they need to also work with Media Council, because marketing and communication now, I mean, we don't have borders anymore. You can't tell where marketing starts and where communication ends. So, for example, where does an influencer fall in? Is he a marketer? Is he a communicator?
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
And what happened? I mean, from the current laws in Kenya, for you to be a journalist, you need to be certified and accredited by Media Council of Kenya.
Yeah.
And there's been a very big hullabaloo about that. So what happens to someone who just has a passion and a gift for writing? They didn't even finish Form 4, but the articles are beautiful, and they command a huge audience. What happens to that person? Are you going to bring in law to control him? I mean, so as Janet put it, what value are we getting out of this? What I think is our constitution is very clear on such certain things, and I think the element of public participation is actually very important. I would advise Marketing Society of Kenya to do 47 town hall meetings across the country with the right audience to understand exactly what's happening in the space. Reach out to Media Council, reach out to Parliament, reach out to a couple of universities, and actually just be able to understand exactly what's happening. Look at precedent, look at what South Korea is doing, look at what China is doing, look at what the US is doing in terms of education. Because who is an influencer and how do you control an influencer? I mean, for example, if you go on TikTok, we have people in our country who have got 1 million followers, just doing ridiculous, crazy content. So, and you want to market your product, maybe water or a drink in that particular region, you'll go to that person. So, how is Marketing Society of Kenya coming to control this person? You see, now this is the disconnect I'm talking about in terms of education, in terms of research, and in terms of legislation. What we need is just let the space grow first. Then once we've reached a particular optimum level, then maybe we can now see, as Janet put it, the element of rogue characters, the element of fraudulent activities and dishonest people, because we need to look at the element of ethics and governance. Now that is the biggest challenge we're having across anything. And if, there's too many bodies doing cross-purpose activities, if they can be able to synergize and focus on ethics and governance, we can be able to grow the country.
Okay. Steve, I'm still going to start this conversation on you because you've touched on them, and we're all going to contribute on that. Influencers, because a lot of business people, the moment they start, the first thought is, this person has quite a number of followers. Let's jump in. And a lot of people have cried out because their businesses ended up looking like fakes. And even some businesses which are not verified have ended up swallowing maybe proper influencers because they talk big time. We have big names that have influenced things that have gone south. The influencer marketing, it has a lot of goods and bads. I don't know from where you see it. What you would say, and how can we protect businesses from not getting to fake guys who will end up ruining them?
From an optical view, from an eagle eyes perspective, the problem lies with the education system. We've let influencers become too big and too powerful. For example,
You're one of them, right?
Just checking. I wouldn't classify myself as an influencer. I'm a writer. I'm a publisher. And that's what I've gone to school to train for, and I'm a trained researcher.
All right.
So that's my forte. But my point is, influencing is a new concept in the labor market. And though the platforms we use are not African,
Yeah.
Africa has actually really taken to them like fish to water. And we've not really taken time to study. And what I mean by study is being able to quantify data on what's been happening in the last 15 years, since the inception of Facebook, Twitter, what's happened, what are the success stories, what are they feeling, so that we can be able to understand what can be tweaked and what cannot work. And we've seen, I mean, in the business community, in a marketplace, you'll find all sorts of people wanting to promote their shambas, their cars and everything. So you'll find people will pick whoever they want to pick. And the biggest problem that brands have is that the marketing department and the communications department are not in tandem, or they're not in sync on what actually they want.
Okay.
And maybe Wanjiru can be able to touch on that, because you get someone promoting land, and they get a big influencer to tell people to buy land, and they tell you this land is 10 minutes from the beach. You know, it's very beautiful place, road network, telephone, hospitals, and they get the influencer to actually do a video on it, and the influencer doesn't go on the ground. Just sit somewhere, you create a video and you post it, and people buy. And then when reality comes out, it's a fake story. So one thing that I've learned in the influencing ecosystem is that instead of looking at the number of people someone has, how many followers, look at the content. How verifiable is the content? How true is the content? How authentic is the content? And is the content in line with the laws of the country? Those 4 key things should define. I mean, I've seen, well, there are a couple of cases whereby big names have actually fallen because maybe you're good in business, but maybe morally there's a question mark, and that becomes a very big problem. And Kenyans need, I mean, the public needs to understand that even influencers are human beings. We are prone to mistakes. And my call to the public, and especially to those in authority and stakeholders, is now it's time to build up a curriculum that can be able to quantify who an influencer is and make it into something, because it's actually making, I mean, we call it the gig economy. It's worth billions. And I think to create authenticity and create confidence for brands and the public, we need to now start talking about it. We need to start putting stories in place to see we can learn from this and you can use this to grow.
So Steve, and I know you have mentioned this, but I want a 30 seconds answer. I know we have talked about the bill and we need to certify marketers. Wouldn't that be the one that protects people from the fakes who are just popping up and down? I know it's a quick answer, and I know you have a lawyer answer, just make it 30 seconds.
It's hard to tell who's a fake and not, because platforms have verification badges. So I can get one to be verified, but I'll still be able to fail. What we need to understand is that we need to understand the essence of failure in any transaction that we do. That is one. And secondly, before we talk about legislation, I think as a country we need to have public participation by the relevant stakeholders who can be able to come together and be able to see, now what can we be able to do for this industry?
Okay, makes sense. Janet, I can't wait to hear what you'll see on this.
Yeah, I'll go
First of all, are you an influencer?
Yeah, she's a big one. Now Hash is an influencer.
She's an influencer.
Hash is an influencer.
She has influenced me to watch some Netflix movies.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Documentaries.
Sorry.
I'll go back to education still, because I feel like that is the gap that we have at the moment, and also the fact that we are not given a chance for us to grow, because I feel like constantly we're using everything from the Western world. In Africa, you can't really figure out who has tools to find the right influencers, to do your research on who is doing the right thing and who is not doing the right thing. And I think that is why we actually skip the stage of, can I take time to search who influencer is valuable, which influencer is true, which influencer is not a rogue person, and all that. So I feel like both goes both ways, be it influencer or a business. But first I'll start from a business point of view. I have worked with quite a number of brands, especially when looking for influencers to trend something or to have a conversation on social media. Trust me, they don't take time to think. They don't take time to figure out who to work with. They just think about, the last minute. Tomorrow we are having a conversation, we are having a launch, we need influencers, period. They don't want to care what you are going to, how long you are going to take to find these influencers. If they are going to check on these influencers to see if they are in line with their business, they just want it to trend. And that means I have to go with every tick and hurry.
Yes.
So long as they can help us trend.
Yes.
And then we get done with that. And then at the end of the day, we come to realize later maybe there's a miscommunication. There's a way we communicated which was not right. Maybe the products were not packaged from a way of, I understand it as an influencer.
Yeah.
So this goes both ways. How? As an influencer, I think at the moment I know what I want to share to my audience and what I don't want to share to the audience.
Okay.
Not just because of the money and the rates, but because I feel like I know the kind of audience I've built, the kind of authenticity they expect from me, and how they want me to communicate with them. I've left out so many jobs in the influencer marketing space simply because some brands just want you because of the numbers. They don't want to think about your audience. Which niche do you lie? You know? And I think that is what I feel some of us who have gone through the space have come to realize. And I like the fact that Soko Analyst, the moment you say Soko Analyst, you think finance.
Yes. Soko inaendaje?
Yeah. And the moment you think about Janet as an influencer, first you see, documentaries. Or another, sometimes people will be like, yeah, apart from documentaries, the way she shares her stuff, she doesn't talk about politics, she doesn't talk about alcohol maybe, and other industries that might actually sound negative to her brand. So what does it mean? We as influencers also, I feel like we have to be role models. There's a reason to why we've been able to be influencers for 6 years. What actually made us stand out is the fact that we chose to look for a way we can be authentic, we can be in a niche that people know or recognize us with. At the same time, we keep on upskilling. And I think this is something we have a problem as influencers. We don't take time to upskill. We just want to be influencers and get money every single day, and that's it. We just want to be seen every single day. We are pushing a product and forgetting. Sometimes people get tired, man. In the same case, you eat ugali every single day. Trust me, you get bored. So how can you also try different ways to grow yourself? To find new ways to excite your audience, and also find a way you can put yourself in people's minds from this point of view. I am this dedicated person. I know what I want. I work with business ABCD. So by the time they even refer you, they're referring you to the right client who will give you time to have a conversation. Another thing I feel like we need to do in the influencer marketing business space is businesses and influencers need to have a sit down. We don't actually have that. We just do the work. This is the content. You push it, and then at the end of the day, we pay you after you're done with your conversation. But in between, there's no sit down. Can you have a conversation with these influencers? Let them give you ideas on how you want to approach the
That's the public
marketing.
participation that Steve is talking about.
Absolutely. And the communication. Do they fit? Ask them, take time to know them. Because these are people who are going to represent your brand. And if they represent it wrongly, you end up, the business is over.
Gillian, you are seated at a very top media house that, all of us here founded before we were born. But now we are seeing they're moving more towards, I don't know what to call it, but they're really moving towards more digital content. In fact, nowadays, you don't even have to sit down on a TV set to watch the news, because if you're just flowing on Twitter, they will still update and you can get to know what's flowing. But over time, I've seen them moving towards more, I don't want to call it gossip kind of thing, but content that is a bit endearing, I think, to what they're just flowing. I don't know whether they have a line. I like what Janet was talking about. Do they have a niche? Or are they just moving left, right, and center? I don't know what, you're sitting at a place that is, I don't know what, whether to call it hot or what, but what's happening in that circle? Are you guys being phased out, or are you trying to play catch up, or what's happening?
Okay, tough question for the industry. I will try and represent it the best I know how. But from all honesty, the media industry is struggling with the transition from traditional media to digital. That's a fact. And also it's not local, it's a global thing. Unfortunately, we are playing catch up mainly because we saw it coming. We saw the disruption. We didn't see the future that individuals could actually get more numbers, more influence than media organizations.
And eat on your revenue.
And eat, exactly, and eat on revenue. We did see it coming, but we saw it, but we didn't think it was gonna get to where it is at the moment. And I think we've seen a lot of media industries right now closing up, literally, because no one is buying newspapers, no one is watching TV. Actually, Gen Zs at the moment don't even know our top anchors They don't know. I mean, I teach. Let me start from there. The connection is, I teach at an institution, Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, and I teach social media. And the good thing, maybe just to mention, training is actually happening. I'm intentionally teaching these young people about digital, and most of them want to be influencers. And they think it's as easy because the influencers they see just post and they just have numbers and it's controversy. I mean, the more controversial you can be, the better for you. You get numbers. But we have to take it back to the basics, what we've talked about, authenticity, your character as an individual. What's your personal branding on the internet? How do people know you? Because again, for business people, audiences or other customers will come to your business because they will relate with you as a person and your business. So those two have to be really connected. So it goes back again to education, to the curriculum. There is a very big gap. The people who we are churning out into the industry, or let me say, the people who gotten into the media industry, and we all grew up wanting, the ones who've done communications, we grew up wanting to be on TV, wanting to write for print. I mean, I am one of them. I am one of those people who really wanted to be on TV. But right now, if you want to have influence, if you want to be able to start conversations that are valuable to our audiences, you cannot just be seated in a main newsroom and wait for audiences to come to you. Because again, advertisers want value, want to reach audiences, and these audiences are online. So what's happening at the moment? At Nation Media Group, there's a whole digital transformation happening, and it's been happening for a while. And it's not just Nation Media Group, even I think at Standard, the same thing. And it's a big, big challenge, mainly because of, I would say, leadership in the media industry. The fact that the leadership in these institutions are people who've been seated in those positions for 30 years. Exactly. And they had mastered the craft of the media industry. They knew what to do. I mean, we had the system rolling. I mean, you get the news, you print the paper, you get to the people, and you get money immediately. But now you're taking them to another business model that requires you to get onto the internet. That means investing on internet, on proper equipment, and also get digital natives. So the traditional, let me say, the traditional way of creating content is still relevant, but it has to adapt to the digital space. When you talk about things like keywords, how do you, and then again, we were used to just speaking at people. Now we have to speak with them. It's a very difficult concept for traditional media to just be and understand that right now it's not about numbers, it's about engagement, it's about relatability, it's about value. Gen Z is right now asking questions of, so what? So, so that happened, how does it affect my life? They just don't want the news. The 5 W's and H, those who went to journalism, what, where, how, I mean, those things have become irrelevant. And so it's the way of working, it's the way of communicating with young audiences. It's also getting them where they are. Right now, young people don't want to be told, let's watch news at 7 p.m., 9 p.m. They want it now. They want it how they want it. They want it immediately. Even in format, things like format. Kitambo would just put text and throw at audiences. You read. Right now, they say they want video content. You have to style up, and we don't want long video content. We want small, biteable content that you consume. I mean, a lot has changed.
Why does it feel like
it's a lot?
It's a moving ball. It's not stopping at some point. You know, it starts this way, moves this way. Am I right? It just keeps emanating. TikTok wasn't there just the other day. Now it's here. It's almost the #1 growing one. I mean, we don't know what's next. I don't know how you guys are surviving this. Yes.
AI.
AI as well, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I'm glad that she's actually talked about training and education, and I'm happy that institutions are actually picking it up. But they need more support from government.
You're right.
For the next 5 years, data analytics, artificial intelligence, are going to redefine everything, from engineering to medicine, to journalism, to advocacy, to manufacturing. I saw a factory in China where instead of standard way of people packaging things, now machines are doing that. I saw in China where when you're filling your car with petrol, someone has to come and open. Now robots actually doing that through AI. And Africa, we're playing catch up in a very bad way in terms of education, in terms of transfer of knowledge. So until we're able to grasp what's happening in the first world, we will feel like it's a football game where it's touch and go, touch and go. So AI and data analytics is going to change a lot. Blockchain, it's bigger than cryptocurrency. We know blockchain from cryptocurrency, but it's a whole technology that is actually redefining governance, redefining accountability. So there's a lot happening, but I feel that our leadership has failed us. I feel that our education systems, I mean, I've seen universities having a problem managing. So you get an university talking about how much money they need to run. And all that money, 163 million per month, all that going to recurrent expenditure. Nothing about research and development, nothing about science, nothing about anything that can actually be of benefit to mankind. So we are way behind in terms of education, and education is no longer happening in the classroom like it used to be. I'm sure she can attest to that. Online learning, thanks to COVID. One of the biggest shifts in mankind's history is COVID. It shifted how we do business and what platforms we use to do business. But we haven't really gotten to that place where we feel the true impact of COVID. And in terms of how we're going to relate to one another, how we get treated. Now you have a watch that can tell you your heartbeat, if your blood is clean or not, if you're getting a heart attack. Do I need a doctor for that? And it can recommend what medication to take. So things are happening very fast.
Things are moving. Janet, let me throw in one last question to each of you. Steve, mine was actually more on the policy side for you, where you have already touched on it, but I'll get a party shot from you. So, cyberbullying, I don't know whether you've experienced that. I would like to know from your end, because there's a time I saw you somehow trending, and I was checking, I don't know what people are doing there. Is it harder for women online? And the reason why I'm asking that is because of what we were celebrating yesterday, International Women's Day. So I'm getting to a conversation there. How has it been on your end?
Wow, that's a very heavy question. Oh yeah, I feel like every lady on social media in one way or the other has actually gone through cyberbullying.
Wow.
Because when I was starting, I would say digital is a male-dominated world. And for women, sometimes you might not be able to be there because maybe we have a lot of other things that we are doing, a lot of other duties and activities we are taking care of offline. And now coming on the digital space, sometimes people just look at us as beauty people. Oh, you're beautiful, you're amazing. They just don't think beyond. We can also give ideas. We can share brilliant ways to do things. We can have conversations that are actually going to change your life on how you think. At first, when I was starting on social media, it was very hard to go through the waters of, I'm a lady. And especially on Twitter. Most of the people don't like Twitter because they think Twitter is a trolling space. It's
I know of organizations that said we're not getting into this platform. Interesting.
So I think the first time actually I got that, because you get someone who's saying something, you're like, wow, do you really know me? Have you really gone through my life? Do you know what I go through every single day? And I think the first thing I say, for me, I was so privileged because I was in the media space. And I like the fact that I worked under Julian. She actually was among the first people who guided me through the journey of digital marketing, because I didn't know how to do social media in the first place. So being in the media space also gave me that confidence. But sometimes as much as you can say you have confidence, wait until someone says something wrong about you. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. So at first I used to I just let it get into me, let me cry out, look for a person to talk to, and then once I'm done, I go back. And I think one thing that stood out for me a lot is resilience. And something that helped me a lot is also the group of people that I had. They will tell you, okay, you've gone through this, now dust yourself. They have seen you, go back.
do something better. And through that, I've been able to build myself from a point of view. Even if you bully me, I'll feel it, but not too much the way I used to, like for long hours.
You develop a thick skin or something.
Seconds, I'm like, okay, it's okay, let's go on. Because at the end of the day, I feel like women have to work extra harder in the digital spaces in order to be recognized of their value, of what they can do to businesses and what they can offer to the larger audience. And that means we are not going to actually let you give up. Push yourself. As much as people will push you down, find a way to push yourself harder. And one thing that will actually give you a chance to stand out there is to find your tribe. And I think that's the most amazing thing that happened on social media.
Find your tribe.
In 2016, when I was starting social media, there were no communities. Right now, we have so many communities, so many niches you can jump in and be part of the conversations, where you feel like these are my people, they understand me, they can't troll me. We're here for knowledge, we're here for sharing, we're here for experience. Cyberbullying has changed over time, I feel like. It has changed for the good and for the bad. There are people nowadays, you don't know if they are undergoing mental problems, mental health issues, depression and all that. So you just come on social media to pour all the frustrations. And I think this is what individuals who are building themselves on the digital space, especially women, need to look at. There are people on social media who are never your friends, you never grew up with them, they are not your sisters and they are not your brothers. These are just people you came across on the digital space and you're there building something. What is your goal at the end of the day? Is your goal feeding these cyber bullies? Is your goal building yourself to be actually a thought leader in this space? Because actually growing from the stage of I'm just an influencer to becoming a thought leader and an expert in a space takes a lot. It doesn't mean just going to the conversations, that's when you become an expert. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. There's sometimes people will tell you things and be like, I thought I'm going to do this, but they're actually not wishing you the best. Even your friends, when you ask them, they'll be like, no, I think you should just stop this, try something different, because it's not working. But if you're in digital space to actually invest in yourself, push yourself harder. There are days you'll gain more, there are days you'll lose a lot. And that means that's part of growing, because in growth there's success and there's failure. But what do you need in the equation? Resilience.
Wow, I love that. Julian, let me come to you as well. Is this space inclusive enough? Still speaking about what we were looking at yesterday, the hashtag was let's all be inclusive.
She talked about cyberbullying. Women are the most affected by this, and I think she said it all. First of all, I'm very proud of Janet.
Very proud of you as a
I
trainer.
saw her coming straight from school. I think we actually got her from straight on Moi University when it going to do a training there. Is it right? Yes. So it's really fulfilling to see people who you've seen grow all the way to here. So yeah, super proud. But I think back to your question, women have it rough on these internet streets because one, they're seen as, we've objectified women so much offline, and this has transitioned online. So it's very clear when you want to put a woman down, use her sexuality, how she looks, conversations, even politicians. A woman politician is trying to vie for a political seat, and they are trolled on their looks, on if they're married, if they have children. Those are the things that we've systemized to put down women on. So that's the culture. And what we are doing right now is we are training women on digital safety. This includes content creators, journalists, and people who are creating brands on their online platforms. So there's a whole curriculum on digital safety. How do you identify a troll? People don't even know what a troll is. Or rather, they don't know they're being trolled. They don't know they're being cyberbullied. And they also, once they realize that it's putting them down, it's making them feel some type of way, mainly women, they don't know how to deal with that. So again, what we're doing is giving them digital tools on how they can cope with this. And we're doing this with Media Council of Kenya. And before elections, we went around the country training content creators and mainly journalists. Because again, remember, journalists go through a rough time when once you cover a story about an influential person or a company, and then they're not happy with the coverage, they attack the company. And when they attack the company and they see that there's nothing coming out of it, they go for the individual. And that can destroy people's careers, esteem, make them disappear on the face of the internet. And just, we've seen people close down social media accounts. So, I mean, and women, then again, let's go back to how we've, regarding gadgets and digits on the International Women's Day aspect. Women have, or rather let me say parents, if you look at typical family, there's a boy and a girl. Boys are given access to the mobile phone a lot. The girls, parents, we tend to take away the mobile phone from the girl child because you're trying to protect them. It's coming from us, it's coming from a good place. But what that does is, a boy is able to access a phone from a very early age. They start knowing how to play games, they get to understand these things. So by the time they're in high school, they can comfortably use a gadget. For girls, you're like, oh, they're gonna be hit on, they're gonna be doing this. And I mean, what I'm trying to say is, let's encourage both children. Because what happens in the long run is when they're older, the boys are able to understand how to use a phone much better than the girl. So the girl is always left behind when it comes to the use of gadgets. Exactly. And that's why we are seeing even in the tech space, the coders, the people who are on this space are mainly male. Because they started it at a young age, they were allowed by their parents and all this culture. So, I mean, it's just a way of encouraging, let's limit the hours of the children use the gadgets, also control what they're doing with the gadgets, but let's give equal access to these gadgets to both genders. So again, innovation, we need women to innovate, because maybe just to speak on one more thing, even when it comes to problems in society, you realize that when you're looking for solutions, because they're male-led, the women have to adapt and become male for them to adapt to problems, because the solutions were thought about used by a male figure. So I mean, inclusivity, digital gender gap, we have to close that, and yes, we have to give access to all gender on the internet.
Steve has a divergent view.
I
saw
can
him
see
looking
him.
at you
I
in
saw
a
him.
different way. Steve, what do you want to say? International Men's Day or something?
They want one.
I think the issue about equality is it's a very dangerous conversation.
Very. Be careful.
And they've said a lot. One, I think both genders are bullied heavily. Women for their looks, men for our wallet. A man, if you're poor, no one will actually look at you. And it's actually very bad. So I think there's so much focus on the girl child that the current boy child that we're raising cannot stand up to any woman. And I want to disagree with her in terms of solutions. I think solutions are not, the moment we start creating silos for choices we make. So, I mean, so I'm a leader here, so I'm making a decision that in the perspective of a man is okay. That's where we are going wrong. And I think there was a time in this country when women pushed for the girl child, and it was okay, because I mean, they were way behind a lot, especially in terms of certain cultural practices. But we've reached a level whereby the internet is an equalizer. We get insulted, we get bullied in equal measure.
And you've had your share as well.
It's been bad. In terms of growth in the industry, there are more women coders. In the last 2 years, we've seen women coders in Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya raising more money in the private equity in their startups. So there's a lot happening for the girl child. And I think one of the biggest things that we are forgetting is that women have pushed themselves to match the energy of a man. I mean, we cannot be on the same level. It's very difficult. We can't match the same energy. I mean, we are here to do different things. What we need to find is find a balance. And I think we found the balance in terms of equity, in terms of equality. So the issue is now to be able to just, how do we now correlate in that space? How do we relate to one another? How do we find issues and resolve the issues in the same voice, not from a gender parity aspect? Because now that's going to become a big problem. A good example is that when a man does something wrong, this culture of cancel culture, whereby the man will lose everything. A good example is what happened to this famous movie star and the ex-wife. Funny enough, I'm forgetting the name. For the longest time, we believed the girl. And he lost a lot of movie deals, and then when he sued, the truth came out. Even in Kenya, we've had the same. When you have a male boy child doing something wrong, and the issues are different. I don't want to mention names because I know some of the incidents are still in court. But the boy child is now actually under attack. And that's what I'm saying, it's a very complicated space. And for me, I think the issue is policy, better legislation, better understanding. We do legislation without really doing research. We do legislation from a point of emotion. And that's what's happening. Like I've seen, this nominated senator pushing the issue of sanitary pads. And well, it's a good push. But what we need to do is have leaders who will understand the economic situation and push things for balance. As I'm pushing pads for the girl child, I need to push training for the boy child to respect a woman. The issue is respecting women. That we may not be equals, but I need to respect you and value your opinion. Your space ends where mine begins.
Let me just rescue you here, because I'm on the gender side that you are. This is a dangerous route. One time I put up a debate with actually high school guys about equality is a myth that may never be achieved, and it was interesting to see how even these young people think. So I must say it's a continuous debate, but there's progress happening.
Like how many governors do you have now who are women? How many women MPs? For me now, I feel like being a man first have to work twice the energy to meet her. We were going for business deal. In Nairobi, in Kenya, 90% of the leaders in the marketing world and brand world are women. So if we're pitching to the same client, I have to do 7 times more what she will do.
Steve, you're going to make Janet get out her statistics as well.
I have that. No, there are more women. Let's look at the big brands. Safaricom, EABL, Nation. All the top key leadership in PR, in marketing, in brand management, they're women. And it's good. Women are naturals and they know how to build things. It's okay. It's understandable. All I'm saying is it's now time to focus on both the boy child and the girl child at the same level.
At the same level.
Yes.
Well, I'm happy. We are seeing even, I think the deputy president's wife has started something, the boy child, all those kind of things.
Don't get me there. Leave politics out.
Don't say anything on that. Let me get some questions the guys are sending. One of it is brands are feeling like they need to be on every platform. Is that so? I don't know, Janet, what do you have to say about that?
Brands need to be on a platform they feel are right for their products and right for their audiences. And having said that, it's okay to be on all the platforms, but choose at least 2 or 3 that are going to be your strongholds, where your customers are maybe for customer service, maybe another one for selling, and another one for engagement in terms of sharing your industry news and what has been happening in your brand.
Biko, let me throw this to you, Steve. There's a question on digital inclusion. Are rural people still disadvantaged, and what do you suggest should be done?
No. That's what I was saying. We need equality for both boys, because during the election, let me use the election as a good example. So I come from Western Kenya. So just walking home, talking to Bodas, and this Boda is looking at his phone and he's saying, looking at the news trending. I think people in the rural side are not left behind, especially on Facebook and TikTok. They're very big on it. Twitter is a bit elite, but YouTube, Facebook, they're more in sync. Like now, we're seeing the government and development partners using Facebook to talk to farmers. And we have feature phones. A phone for 3,000, 2,500 actually being able to access Facebook. So there's one thing I like about Kenya is that there's digital inclusion for everyone. Across all cadres in terms of social strata and financial aspect. And as Janet put it, so Twitter it's a serious market. It's like a wrestling match. But the other platforms are a bit more, and they're communities. Platforms that push for communities engagement, like Facebook and TikTok. You'll find people, across all cadres, teachers, farmers,
Can I add something on that still question? Like they're saying, like we have bandwidth and the government pushing for connectivity, but what about people in the rural areas? What policy interventions are needed to ensure that they are also included in the digital transformation? I think it's just that.
So now, one of the interesting things that this government has done is making sure that every key market has internet. And I went out to just prove it.
Okay.
So Chole Market is the second biggest fresh market for fresh produce in the country. So I was there. And people, I mean, there was bandwidth, there was free Wi-Fi, and so you're able to access basic platforms. When you go interior towards the border, where it's very difficult to get network from either country, platforms have what you call light, L-I-T-E aspect, so you're able to get now news, I mean brief news. So I like what the government is doing in terms of making sure that every market center or major town you can get free Wi-Fi.
So they're also doing this at the marginalized areas?
Yes, in fact, the Ministry of ICT is actually pushing for that. Okay. That's the one thing that I've seen happening. Okay. And you can go out and actually try it. Go to Sokomjinga here at, just in Kiambu on your way to Naivasha. Yes. You'll find farmers on Facebook at 3 in the morning trying to order things using the government-given bandwidth. And now the government has its own using telecom. They've laid bandwidth across the country, and it's actually working. Wow. Yes. Wow. So in terms of policy, that's there.
Julian, I would like you to weigh in on that as well. Those two questions, but I think that one has been well covered. But this one for brands getting in, I think it was, do we need to be on each platform? I think Janet has said look for the platform that fits you. Is that the case as well? I'm asking you because you are in charge of a very big brand. What are you finding yourselves doing in terms of choice?
I'd go back to how I advise guys to do this is, one, who's your target audience? Okay. When you're clear on who your target audience is, now find what will determine what platforms you end up being is on who your target audience is. So if I realize that Gen Z are my target audience, so find out where are these Gen Zs? Are they on Facebook? I can guarantee you they are not on Facebook. Are they on Twitter? How many of them are there? And when they are there, what exactly do they do there? Because I think even for us, look at how you consume content yourself. There's a place you go when you want entertainment. There's a place when you go when you want professionalism, you want to know things to do with the industry. And there's a place where you go just to chat. So think about it in that way. Who's your target audience? Where are they? Which platforms are they on? Then be there. And then understand the platform. How is the content on those platforms created? Does it require you to do videos? Do videos. Okay. If it's text, do that. So again, don't be on just every platform, everything that comes up, you just want to be on it. I wouldn't advise that because again, that requires resources. And social media is just not posting. I think Janet said that because how businesses look at social media is just to do post. It's more than just posting. There's a whole world behind on the back end of analytics, understanding how people are consuming your content, looking at engagement, looking at sentiments, looking at demographics. Where exactly are they in the country? For example, where are they located? All those things will guide you on which platform to be on.
Okay. Janet, TikTok, brands are confused on how to get in there. I know one brand that was asking how to get on this thing. Yeah, they are these other amazing platforms, but it looks like TikTok is another jungle.
I feel like TikTok has a lot of opportunities for most of the brands. But the problem is in the African, especially, let me just use Kenya. We usually look at TikTok as the dancing platform. That's the problem. Because if you look at the other world where TikTok has been used for quite some years, they're using it for different reasons. Look at news. There are actually so many media houses on TikTok. And they're creating amazing content. People are getting the news. People are interacting with them. We look at in terms of, there are people who are teaching on TikTok. We have therapists on TikTok, mental health advocates, and they are doing an amazing job. They are helping people on how to deal with it. So I will say as a brand, look at TikTok as a channel to talk to the younger generation and also to build a long-term audience that will grow knowing you, what you do, and what you can offer. And that means
let her finish.
It's okay. And that means TikTok for businesses, I look at it from the point of behind the scenes at the moment. What other things can you share to the public so that you can tell them this is what I do, this is what how we deal with our employees, these are the activities we take part in, these are some of the conferences we go, so that people can know more about your brand. Because it's all about visuals, it's all about videos. And all the time you can't be seated on a chair and then talking to people about how to buy the businesses or buy this product, how to sign up. You can't be doing that with Generation Z.
Absolutely.
They want to know other things. That means what can you bring that is a bit entertainment entertaining, but at
Yeah.
the same time informative
Okay.
to this audience through their content.
All right.
So I go back to the behind the scenes.
Steve, I have 30 seconds, and within
Just
what
to
you're about
respond-
say, you want to give your partnership as
One,
well.
we took time to do research on TikTok.
Mhm.
So 2 major announcements. Yesterday, the U.S. government, the Biden's administration got a boost from Congress to actually ban TikTok in the U.S.
I saw that.
And it's a big thing. It's a very huge thing that African countries need to pay attention to. Secondly, on what she said, it's not just perceived as a dancing tool. The algorithm that China is using TikTok, it can, I might sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we've done research. I had someone who had gone to South Korea, then I had someone who had gone to the US, someone who had gone to UK, South Africa, Nigeria, and all these 5 people had different views on TikTok. And the way China is actually segmenting TikTok is that it's using it as a weapon. So for Africa, all we see are videos. I mean, I'm on TikTok heavily, and irrespective of what I do, I will get a dancing video.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you're following. So it's been designed in such a way that the entire African population, all we're seeing is beautiful women and dancing videos.
Yes.
But if you go to China itself, you'll see kids learning how to code, you'll see kids learning how to do robotics, you'll see kids being taught how to do surgery and things like that. And one of the reasons why the Biden administration wants to ban TikTok is because China is using TikTok as a weapon to transform and control the world. Because if you go to Nigeria and South Africa, I'm just scrolling, just dancing videos. And I mean, media is on, NTV have very good content on TikTok, but you will not find it. So it's very difficult. Mental health, you will not find it. We talk about mental health every day, but you will not find those important video TikToks on the platform. So this is something that when I talk about policy, now relevant stakeholders like the Communications Authority will do research and actually verify exactly what's happening with TikTok. And if you study what Congress is doing with TikTok, then you'll be able to understand exactly how powerful or dangerous the platform is.
Maybe just to add just a minute
I'm
on
shocked, yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
On TikTok, I'm not sure you guys have seen what's been streamed on TikTok at the wee hours of the night.
I just saw some news
Exactly.
that people are doing crazy things.
It's not just crazy,
Yeah.
it's deliberate by the
It's-
China
It's
government.
horrible. I mean, it's not safe for kids anymore. It was, I mean, we have 10-year-olds on TikTok because it was a very harmless platform.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's turning into something really ugly. And I want to just concur with Steve that
Yeah.
we really need regulation on,
Yeah.
on that part of the, on that platform specifically, because as much as I haven't heard what you've said, I tend to believe that, I kind of believe it, that it could be
Yeah.
very intentional,
Yeah.
with a purpose, with an agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Because if you look at even the platforms we use, TikTok is different from the ones the Chinese use. It's totally different.
It's
Same
the TikTok for
experience.
China is very different on how, and
Yeah.
what she just
That's a
said.
different name too.
Yes, and what happens between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And last night I was just, because I've seen a lot of people complaining, so just tuned in at around 2:33 in the morning, and every video is a live feed of 4 or 5 participants doing crazy things, and I'm left wondering. So I go back to people I'm following brands and influencers who have positive content, but I can't find their content
You
on.
can find the content.
So I'm wondering exactly what's really happening. So I WhatsApp a friend of mine in Rwanda and ask him to check. So he gets back to me in the morning, tells me, found the same thing. So we check our friend in Johannesburg, and it's the same thing. So you go back and actually realize that these are tools that are being used by the government of residents to achieve a particular agenda. But because, Africa, we are a consuming market. We never really consider what's really happening behind. And that's what I'm saying, as we do regulation, can we not just say we want to tax this platform because you're making a lot of money on it? How are you getting money on it? If you go to TikTok, you've got funds-only accounts.
Yeah.
You go to Twitter, you'll find funds-only accounts. And this is what government wants to tax, because people are making a lot of money. But why can't we take a year to study exactly how this money is being made first, create the relevant legislation, protect our children, and then now say we're going to tax this? Because TikTok is very powerful in terms of education, in terms of science, and in terms of warfare. If you see what's happening in TikTok and the Ukraine-Russia war, you'll be amazed and shocked.
Don't even go there. Guys, we have about, I understand, 45 seconds. So if I give you 15 to do a parting shot, Janet, can I start with you?
Sure.
Yes.
We have talked about influencer marketing, how
Yes.
businesses can use their social media and which platforms they can be.
Yeah.
One thing I would say is go back to the drawing board. Take time to do your research. I know we are underprivileged in Africa to get the right tools
Yeah.
to help us do this. But if we go back to the drawing board, we can also be part of the ideas, innovators of some of these social media marketing tools, digital tools that we can use to make better decisions and choose the right people to work with and make decisions on which platform is okay for our business.
Wow, thank you. Steve?
I think any entrepreneur or any business owner needs to have digital platforms for their business. They need to keep researching and understanding how they can be able to activate them. That the easiest way to market your business, most affordable and most sustainable. So I will encourage anyone in business to actually take advantage, and you can also get self-help platforms, self-help apps, and how to manage your issues, whether good or bad.
Yeah, wow. Gillian, frankly.
For me, I'd just say that the same way you run your business offline, the same effort that you put offline is the same effort that will be required for you to put online. Online doesn't mean that you now neglect all the other facets of running a business, from research, to engaging people and solving problems. All those things are just going to be transferred to the online platforms. So the most important thing that I tell businesses, seek a relationship with your audiences, understand them and their needs, and try and solve that the best way you can through the digital platform. And also don't look at the digital platforms as global. There's an opportunity to take your business beyond the local context. Think about global audiences as a way of scaling your business to the next level.
Wow. Guys, I want to appreciate you, first of all, our panelists, for coming. This has been very insightful. I want to apologize to our viewers. I know I normally ask a lot of your questions. We've given you like 15 minutes of your questions, but today it was too deep, you understand? We needed to get what they're talking about. Zele, I'll read your comment from Facebook. You said this, that it's always been about, I think it was a gender issue. The society has been built with a male perspective in mind, and now it's the time that we are playing catch up on either side of the spectrum. Women have to catch up and be like men to be treated properly. I mean, there's ladies who have male alliances to achieve anything, especially online. I think you get what she's trying to say, that there's a whole balance of conversation. Thanks so much, Zeli. And just to appreciate you for your time and for tuning in. This cannot end here. As you can tell, I cut them short. They had a lot to say, and so we definitely will be calling them back to share more. Thank you so much for your time. Let's get back to business. That's it right here on BizTalks.